Hey guys, it's Paul, combat veteran, MMA fighter, YouTuber, and today we are checking out a legendary fan film called Guardsman. This has like 5.5 million views on YouTube and is super popular, so let's get into it. I believe this is also maybe the guy who did Hell's Reach. I'm not sure. But whoever did their editing is first class.
Raids. Guardsman raids. Where in all the hells are you?
I'm here, sir.
Okay, so right there, we see this guy, this lone guardsman, regains consciousness. He hears his command being overrun by Tyranids, and he wakes up and realizes there is a big piece of shrapnel wedged right in his lower thigh, right above the knee. This is actually not as uncommon as you would think, the fact that you would not notice it until sometime later. This is a function of kind of the surge of adrenaline that prevents you often from even perceiving your own injuries. We were trained actually to, after a firefight or explosion, to physically check your battle buddies to make sure that you don't see any blood, because often you can be pretty badly wounded and not notice that you've been wounded until you realize that an arm or leg isn't working properly, or you look down and see blood all over your uniform. So the fact that he is only now noticing that he's been wounded is actually pretty realistic. The other thing is that he's treating himself in a really realistic way. First off, he is going straight to a tourniquet as a treatment technique. For years, soldiers were trained to use a field dressing, a bandage that you kind of wrap around, just a standard gauze bandage. And what they found, and that only to apply a tourniquet if the wound was really, really bad. But what they found is that for life-threatening wounds, start going through the whole rigmarole of applying one bandage, then you're supposed to apply two, and then finally you get to a tourniquet. When you are especially wounded, it can waste a lot of valuable time. If you're, again, in this guy's case, if there is a lot of bleeding coming from that leg, he may not be able to stay conscious as he loses blood rapidly. So going straight to a tourniquet from square one for a wound that serious is probably the right call. And of course, once you get to a field hospital, they can undo the tourniquet, right? Do some surgery, clamp the artery, do what they have to do to stabilize you. Now, the third thing he does that I really like is he doesn't touch the piece of shrapnel. This is something else that there is pretty commonly trained for first aid, is that if you have some sort of puncture wound caused by an object and that object is wedged in there, it might actually be blocking larger tears in arteries or big blood vessels from bleeding out even more seriously. And so they tell you, don't pull it out until, don't pull it out at all. Have a physician or a surgeon in the hospital be the one who pulls it out, so that way they are right there and can stabilize the bleeding immediately, instead of you pull it out and suddenly you're bleeding everywhere and you might not be able to get control of that bleeding. So three things that are right. Oh, one other thing that I thought was really cool is that it's a testament to how well laid out his uniform and equipment is, that he was able to immediately access his tourniquet. You notice he didn't have to pat himself down. He didn't fumble around. Wherever they had it stored, it looked like it was maybe in the belt line somehow. they had it easily accessible for the Guardsman. And that is pretty essential for any piece of kit. You should always be able to know by feel where all your equipment is, so that, again, if you get hurt or it's very dark out or you've been blinded or there's dust and debris everywhere in the air, you don't need to see what you're going for. You can feel out exactly where you need to find, whatever piece of gear, another magazine, a tourniquet in this case, what have you.
Xeno scum.
Never seen that happen. Never seen somebody like in a firefight, especially one like that, talk shit. That's like a movie thing, right? Where people talk a bunch of smack and they spit on the ground and they keep fighting. Yeah, that doesn't happen in real life. All right, so this actually reminds me a little bit of the scene in Alien, or Aliens, right, where the Colonial Marines deploy their sentry guns and down a hallway, and the sentry guns, have whatever 1,000 rounds of ammo each, and the aliens charge at them, and they watch the sentry guns burn through basically all their ammo. One gun gets down to 2 rounds, but the aliens retreat and are, regrouping or trying to find a way around because they don't realize that the sentry guns are barely operational. And a similar play could be here for this Guardsman, who, even though his weapon is out of ammo, the Tyranids may not realize it. They may still think this Imperial Guardsman still is very, very lethal. But because he's tossed his weapon away, he's now told the Tyranids that the weapon is not a danger. Even if the Tyranids can't think in that sort of way, the fact that they can see the danger stick, the gun itself, is away from the person, probably would, even on an instinctual level, let them know that their threat of being shot is 0 or nearly 0. I am sort of curious about why the Tyranids are behaving the way they are. I know Tyranids, right, they have a very intelligent hive mind capable of formulating a strategy and that sort of thing. But the individual Tyranids seem to sort of be a crapshoot. Sometimes they sort of, in lore, they appear to be directed by the hive mind in a really intelligent way, and then sometimes they operate like giant bugs. And these Tyranids are under attack, like they have encountered a lone Guardsman. He has shot at them, and they have kind of pulled back. So the question is why. On one hand, they may think that, hey, one Guardsman is almost never alone, and so they may suspect that there may be dozens or hundreds of other Guardsmen en route, that he might just be the first one. They may have a role. They may be like some sort of massing for an attack, or even like a non-combat type of role where they are not supposed to engage with this lone Guardsman. Instead, they're just supposed to block him from advancing on, say, another massing position where they're preparing for an attack on a different Imperial position. Or again, they may also just be really isolated units that, without direction, are just sort of operating on instinct, and the powerful blast of the lasgun, powerful lasgun, have deterred them, right? They want more, they want to attack only with an overwhelming advantage. And so that may be why they are not advancing on the Guardsmen.
Oh God, Emperor. Overseer makes things all right. Whose power none can resist. Grant me the strength to defeat thy enemies. Grant me the will to defeat the beast. From your grace.
I shall know no fear.
Okay, another theory, right? Maybe those Tyranids were either trying to bait the Space Marine into a fight, or they know that there's a Space Marine in the area, and that is what's the actual reason they are reluctant to engage. Gotta say, man, that uniform is really, or sorry, the power armor is really well done, right? It looks both powerful and big, but also like used and kind of lived in. Again, credit to whoever did these special effects.
Take up your weapon, Guardsman.
The Emperor protects.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, it definitely leads me to believe that the Tyranid strategy there may have actually been some sort of trap, may have been some sort of attempt to get the Space Marines to come out into the open. It appears that there's only one of them, so it could be a case of getting a Space Marine isolated, maybe even using the Guardsmen as bait. One of the commenters had said that this particular chapter of Space Marines is sort of known to have a soft spot for human beings, and certainly a lone Guardsman standing up to an army of lethal Tyranids is something that any Space Marine would probably admire, especially being willing to fight them with a bayonet is really something. So, yeah, it leads me to believe that this may actually be a strategic choice by the Tyranids to hold off. Again, the only other thing that I sort of question, and this, lore commenters, I depend on you for this sort of stuff, is the Guardsman clearly had his radio, his next higher headquarters got overrun, right? That's why you heard their commander talking, and then his radio was reduced to static. But they should be able to switch channels. If you've got one radio, you can find a channel with another other friendly forces, and you should be able to at least communicate with them in order to arrange for some sort of rescue, or at least get a sense of where friendly forces might be located and enemy forces might be located. But again, it's important to note that in any combat situation, especially one like this poor guy was in, your thinking is not very clear at the best of times, right? Your adrenaline is going, you get tunnel vision. It's tough. And it's even tougher when you believe your life is in danger and when you've been concussed, which we know this guy was because he woke up from being unconscious in some unknown area. So he definitely was not thinking clearly, which, again, you give him even more credit for having the courage to stand up and fight against these Tyranids when, your brain isn't working all the way. So anyway, guys, that's all I had. Hey, be sure to check out the merch store down below. We've got mugs, we've got shirts, we've got stickers. I got a bunch of cool designs. And be sure to hit subscribe. And yeah, definitely let me know in the comments if you got other videos you want me to see. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.